Manchuria, China, 1936. In the city of Harbin, on the edge of Japanese-occupied territory, a facility was being built. 150 buildings, its own water supply, its own power station, its own prison, its own crematorium. It was called, officially, the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of the Kwantung Army. The men who worked there called it something else. They called the people inside Maruta. It is a Japanese word. It means logs. His name was Shiro Ishii. Lieutenant General, physician, microbiologist, graduate of Kyoto Imperial University. By every measure of his world, a distinguished man. Ishii believed with complete conviction that biological weapons were the future of warfare, more efficient than bombs, more devastating than artillery, invisible, undetectable, unstoppable. And he believed something else, that to develop them properly, you needed to test them, not on animals, on people. The facility Ishii built at Harbin was unlike anything that had existed before it. 3,000 staff, laboratories, operating theaters, holding cells for 600 prisoners at a time. And at the center of the complex, a special block. The prisoners called it the Square Building. Nobody who entered the Square Building as a prisoner ever left it alive. Where did the prisoners come from? Chinese civilians arrested in occupied territories, political dissidents, the homeless, the poor, Korean prisoners, Russian captives, people taken without charge, without trial, without anyone being told where they had gone. They were given numbers. Their names were never recorded. They were logs. I want to be careful here, not because the truth should be softened, but because the truth, stated plainly, is more disturbing than anything I could dramatize. The Library of Congress holds 3 declassified documents from Unit 731, each more than 100 pages long, translated from Japanese into English. They are comprehensive clinical records describing in precise medical language the daily progression of various pathogens within the bodies of prisoners who were still alive when the observations began. Prisoners were infected with plague, cholera, anthrax, typhoid, not to treat them, to observe what happened, to measure, record, document, as if the person experiencing it was not a person. The researchers published their findings in peer-reviewed journals. They referred to their subjects as coolies or monkeys. The experiments did not stay inside the facility. In 1940 and 1941, Unit 731 loaded plague-infected fleas into ceramic bombs and dropped them from low-flying aircraft over Chinese cities. Ningbo, Changde, civilian populations, no warning, no declaration, no military target. Bubonic plague epidemics broke out in both cities. Tens of thousands of people died. Ishii was so pleased with the results that he commissioned a documentary film to show the Chinese High Command. Between the facility itself and the field operations conducted across China,
Historians estimate that Unit 731 was responsible for the deaths of between 200,000 and 500,000 people. No one was ever punished for it. Not one person. And the reason for that is the part of this story that should disturb you most.
August 1945. Japan surrenders. The war in Europe had already ended. The Nazi doctors who conducted experiments on prisoners were tried at Nuremberg, sentenced, executed. The world declared never again. Meanwhile, in Harbin, Shiro Ishii gave his final order: destroy everything. Documents burned, buildings demolished, evidence erased. The remaining prisoners were killed, every last one. No survivors, not one documented survivor from inside the facility. When American investigators arrived in Japan, they discovered what Unit 731 had been. General Douglas MacArthur faced a decision: prosecute or deal. The Cold War was beginning. The Soviet Union was the new enemy, and American military intelligence wanted something badly. They wanted the data. 12 years of human experimentation, detailed clinical records of exactly how diseases progressed, how biological weapons could be deployed, what they did to the human body. Data that could not have been gathered any other way. In exchange for full immunity from prosecution, Shiro Ishii and the senior leadership of Unit 731 handed over everything. Every record they had not destroyed, every finding. The United States government paid them between 150,000 and 200,000 yen for the data. MacArthur signed off on it personally. The documents were classified. The witnesses were silenced. The Soviet Union's War Crimes Tribunal, which tried 12 Unit 731 members in 1949, was dismissed by the United States as communist propaganda. One of the last surviving judges from the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal spoke about this years later. His name was Bert Rolling. He said, and I will not paraphrase this, "It is a bitter experience for me to be informed now that centrally ordered Japanese war criminality of the most disgusting kind was kept secret from the court by the United States." While German doctors were executed at Nuremberg, the men of Unit 731 went home. Ishii lived quietly in Japan until 1959. He died of throat cancer in his own bed. Many of his colleagues went on to distinguished careers in Japanese medicine, academia, and business. Some became heads of hospitals. Some became university professors. None of them were ever tried. Japan denied the existence of Unit 731 until the 1980s. Not for years, for decades. It was not until 2002 that a Japanese court officially ruled that Japan had engaged in biological warfare. No reparations were paid. No formal apology was issued. The victims of Unit 731 were deliberately unnamed. That was part of the design.
Take away the name, take away the identity, take away the humanity. Call them logs, and perhaps what is being done to them does not feel like what it is. There is a detail in the historical record that I cannot move past. The researchers at Unit 731 published their findings in scientific journals while the experiments were still happening. Peer-reviewed, academic, cited. After the war, some of those same studies remained in the scientific literature, referenced, built upon, because the data was real, even if the way it was obtained was a crime against humanity. The people in those cells had names, families who never learned what happened to them. They were taken, numbered, studied, killed. And then the men who did it were handed immunity, their data incorporated into military programs, their crimes classified, and the world moved on. The facility in Harbin is a museum now. You can walk the corridors, read the names of the staff, all 3,607 of them, released by the Japanese government in 2018, 73 years after the war ended. The names of the victims, most of them, are still unknown. They were logs. That was the last thing anyone official ever called them.
The next story begins in the dark. Subscribe to uncover it.